Hello, my name's Jace Allred. This is my podcast kind of format to discuss kind of the changes within our vestibular system in respect to scuba diving, or even just change in altitude and just those pressure changes and some diseases that may happen from this. Kind of my inspiration for this, I recently just got back from Hawaii, and I was able to go down to 107 feet deep. And I myself have my scuba certification. I did it this past fall at GU. I would definitely recommend taking that class. But through that process, I definitely had some problems, and I kind of was really intrigued and curious on what might be going on within my body. How do I resolve this issue, and what are maybe some further diseases that can happen from scuba diving, because it is a dangerous activity. However, if you do it with safety and under the right guidelines, good instructor, there should be no problems, which even myself, who's had a problem once or twice within my dives, I'm still going to go back and scuba. It's a lot of fun. So that's going to lead us kind of into the actual anatomy, and I just want to go through a general description of our vestibular system and what happens as we kind of go through a pressure change. So going down in a pool is kind of the example I'll do, because everyone can relate to this as you swim to the 10 feet deep, jumping off a diving board, and you hold your nose, and kind of why we do that. So here is a good image of our inner ear and the portions of it. So you have your outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. For this discussion, we're really just going to be talking about these portions here, the middle ear and inner ear. And kind of how to begin is just you're going to have an increase in pressure. As we go deep, your pressure is going to increase, and that's going to kind of reside right here on the tympanic ear membrane, otherwise known as your eardrum. And so from that increase in pressure, your Eustachian tube, which is connected to your nose, should help equalize that with the pressure change. So we want to get to neutral pressure. We're not going to be able to change pressure from an external force unless we start ascending up. However, if we want to keep going deeper and resolve to scuba, we're going to kind of have to do it on our own in our own system. So that's kind of when you might blow your nose, pop your ears. Might be when you're driving up to a mountain, or driving down from skiing from a mountain, or a lot of it is flying, taking off, and landing. And then obviously I think swimming is a great example, as everyone who knows how to swim and can go deep has experienced that really kind of irritating pressure on the outside, which might cause maybe a headache or whatever it may be within your vestibular system, within your head. So going back here, we have that increase in pressure through our Eustachian tubes. We can actually equalize, like I mentioned before. Another method is chewing gum while on a plane, or moving your jaw like this. That helps open those up, so you can just kind of release that, get that pressure difference, so there's not as much pain. But as we have this increase in pressure, you're actually going to have the tympanic membrane is going to shift inward. So as you see my mouse, it's going to go towards the inner ear, which is going to cause an ossicular chain on our malleus, incus, and stapes, are these bones which Dr. Lewis printed out for us via 3D printing. And that's going to kind of go into here, into our semicircular canals and into our cochlea. And then specifically right here where my mouse is at, it's actually going to be the round and oval window. So as it goes through the semicircular canal, that's going to get transmitted to the round window and oval window. The oval window sits right above the round window. And then that's going to go through the cochlea. That fluid change is going to adapt to whatever that increase in pressure, and then it's going to send a signal to your auditory nerve, to your brain. And so that kind of is the simple increase in pressure, what changes within our anatomy. Moving on now to the actual diseases and symptomology you may get from scuba diving or excessive scuba diving. within your vestibular system is called barotrauma, which barotrauma can just be described as an excessive force on the ear. So we're going to be talking about ear barotrauma. You can have middle ear, so that's going to be here between the tympanic membrane and then this tympanic cavity. And then there's also inner ear barotrauma, which is much more serious. This is when you actually have a burst within your round window rupture or burst, and that will result in fluid kind of losing out the ear. Even an eardrum burst, you're going to have fluid from inside be coming out as well. The biggest thing is an inner ear barotrauma. You can exhibit a lot of hearing loss. Within everyone else, so I feel like we've all maybe experienced middle ear barotrauma, and I talked about what I experienced through my scuba experience, and it was middle ear barotrauma. As I was descending, I could not equalize. I was in a lot of pain. I've been battling a sinus infection from the previous week, so my frontal sinus here was in just a ton of pain. Everything within my cavity, my head, a ton of pain just from that change. Eventually I was able to equalize by moving my jaw. I would go up a little bit, try and equalize, then come back down. That helped a lot too. But that was kind of what I experienced within my scuba diving is middle ear barotrauma. Inner ear barotrauma, however, significant hearing loss would be kind of the biggest result. And inner ear decompression sickness is kind of the next one I'm going to be talking about. And that's really going to be kind of the symptomology you're going to be getting is vertigo, nausea, and difficulty with coordination. Within this, you can kind of see the vestibular system and its effect with motion and kind of where we're at, what we're doing. Obviously, kind of deals, those symptoms kind of revolve around that. What happens with inner ear decompression sickness is as you ascent from being so low, you have an increase in pressure. So you have a ton of nitrogen kind of seeping into your body. And with that increase in pressure, it has a hard time escaping. And what nitrogen can do is nitrogen bubbles will form in vascular rich tissues. So specifically your cochlea is one of those spots. And so as you ascend, this nitrogen kind of gets a bubble, and then it's going to cause those symptoms I mentioned before, vertigo, nausea, and it's really going to mess with your vestibular system. One thing that I really liked about looking into this information is kind of the curing of it, or the process of rehabilitation. And there's kind of two methods, both involving oxygen. The first one is hyperbaric oxygen therapy, so throwing them in an actual chamber and just pump it full of oxygen, and they just breathe it in, and it kind of gets rid of the nitrogen within the body. The other one is just a high flow oxygen via non-rebreathers. So what EMTs will put on you if you're experiencing hyperventilation or whatever, they'll just put a mask on, and then you'll breathe oxygen in to get that nitrogen out. So that's kind of important as you ascend, not to go too quickly, or to make sure to stop and rest for, typically it's about 5 minutes is how long your safety stop is. And then that way it allows nitrogen to seep out. This is kind of 20 feet below the boat, and then you would go up or below the surface, then you'd finish it out. But you should always stop to make sure to allow that pressure change to kind of get back physiologically, which for me, I definitely could feel like I was kind of feeling lightheaded as I was ascending quickly. Made sure to safety stop. Thought that was pretty interesting with the way it connects to our vestibular system. And then the last thing that can kind of happen within scuba diving is called archinobaric vertigo. And this is kind of when one ear equalizes slower than the other. So it's just going to be kind of one side pain, even after on the when you're on the surface, one side's still not popped, and you're just going to be kind of feeling, I would say, lightheaded, a little loopy. This definitely happened to me. I had this for quite a while, actually, after my dive. As I mentioned before, I had that sinus infection, so my cavities were all kind of messed up before. So the pressure change definitely had an impact on me. Kind of what's going to happen with this one, though, is you're going to, and mine obviously was very mild. It can get very severe and very impactful to one's system. What you kind of happens is you have asymmetrical vestibular nerve firing. So right here within the nerve, going to your brain's going to be getting signals, and it's just going to kind of obviously something's going to be messed up. You might get a headache from it, which I definitely kind of experienced, and just wanted to relax and lay down, allow it to fluid to kind of get out. And what you'll kind of feel there is spinning and disorientation, which is definitely what I felt. So between the things I've discussed, I experienced 2 of them. Another thing to mention is as you scuba dive, ear infections are going to be more common, as just fluid's going to be getting into that ear and possibly cause an infection. I fortunately made sure to clean out my ears, so I can avoid that, because I've had an ear infection. Those are terrible. But I will say, after thoroughly researching all of this, our vestibular system is pretty awesome in the way it deals with just kind of where we're at, is kind of how I like to think of it. And I think it's awesome how it takes in and the fluid change within the ear and what we're experiencing altitude wise. I think that's super interesting. And I'm glad we were able to kind of talk about this in the neurosystems class, and I'm glad I got to kind of expand on it and do something that I like to do, my own hobby of scuba diving. I appreciate this opportunity to be able to talk kind of in a podcast format. I know you probably have to watch the video as I go through a lot of the anatomy, but I thought a visual would be best to learn, as we've all been through courses, and that's the easiest way. But I would definitely recommend scuba diving to everyone. Take the class. If you have any questions, feel free to talk to me outside of class. Thank you.